Yo, good evening, Flyffers. So today I want to start the video with a big thank you for all the positive feedback regarding the one-on-one plate guide. And I kept the structure in the guide, so it's staying the same so you can have some comparison. And today we want to take a look at the night, more specifically at the AoE night. And before we start, little disclaimer, this is a beginner guide, so it's focusing mainly on for newcomers or people that return to Flyff. But if you're a veteran, of course, this will give you all the information that you need from level 15 to level 90, like all kinds of set choices, weapon choices, what skills to use, all this kind of stuff for jewelry. So we will cover everything in this guide. So make sure to watch till the end. And now let's start with the basics. What is actually a knight? Similar to the plate, the knight needs to be a mercenary at level 15, and at level 60 he can turn into a knight. There will be a guide on how to level 60, of course, but that will be separate, and there will be guides on how to do the job changes for level the first and the second one. So this will not be covered in the video, but you will get this information, of course. So now let's take a look at what stats are important for a knight, and which is something you want to take a look out for if you get items and stuff like this. So an AoE knight is a tank. This means he is collecting a lot of mobs by auto-attacking them, gathering them all on one group, and then using skills to kill them all at the same time. This is why he needs a lot of stamina and HP percent to be tanky and beefy. His damage of the skills are scaled with STR strength, similar to the plate damage, and it is a minor stat, so the more mobs you can basically tank, the less important the STR factor is. You want to tank lots of mobs basically. Then there's something called melee block, which will result in if a minion or a monster, whatever we're going to call it, is hitting you, you will only receive 1 damage instead of like maybe 3k or whatever it is hitting. So melee block is really strong and will allow you to tank much larger groups of mobs. And then there's something special in Flyff Universe. It's called skill damage percent, and will by percent actually increase your skill damage from your AoE attacks and stuff like this. So really important stat right here. Now, what do we want to stat correctly? We already said we are a tank. And I know some people will wait, full stamina, is that the correct build? And full stamina is definitely only a beginner build. The more experienced you are, the better you are tanking large groups of mobs, the better your food timing is, the less stamina you need to stat, and the more STR you can stat and going into the damage route. But if you're a beginner, I would start playing full stamina, and once you realize, okay, I maybe can do the same, what I'm doing right now with 50 stamina less, then just buy a restat and restat from the full stamina build into 50 more STR, for example. So this is something you have to figure out yourself, because it's really dependent on your personal preference and playstyle and of course skill. So now let's take a look what kind of stats you should have when you're level 60. When you're level 60 you should have about 10k HP, this is buffed, and a defense of about 2.2k. With those values you will be just fine, able to tank the mobs and do some AoEing, so it's pretty decent. Once you are level 90, you want to have about 20k health and about 3k defense, and since the mobs will hit higher, because their attack also increased, and from now on you will be able to buy better pills and stuff like that, so you can taking advantage of your higher health. And the ringmasters, of course, by then will heal more. So this is overall what you need at level 90, what you should aim for. Now let's take a look on which kind of gear do we actually need to achieve those levels. The early stages are pretty similar to the plate, since we are both mercenary and they are sharing the same sets. This means once you hit level 15 up to level 30, you can keep your eyes open on the petal and comet parts. But I would recommend not farming those and spending too much time. But if you can get a hold of them, try to combine 2 pieces P-Tal and 2 pieces Comet for an additional 20% hit rate, which will result in an overall better kill speed. If you manage to get a full set just by luck, go for it. Don't farm it, don't buy it, it's not worth it. You will pass those levels too fast. But if you drop it, it's good. Now let's take a look at the gear. Here's something special. I do recommend 2 high upgrades in sets that are following shortly after, and I will explain you exactly why. The level 60 set is giving you a 15% HP bonus, which is pretty good early on. And I do recommend leveling the set to level 8 and 16% HP. Just this set, people will buy it quite often because many people will play Plate full STR, which means they will lag the HP to tank giants and stuff like this later on. So they are not only knights, also plates will want to buy this set, and they can both wear it. So it is worth to upgrade this and sell it later on, since there will be a high demand. And now we're talking about the weapon set, and this is pretty decent and really amazing about the knight, because this is basically your endgame AoE set already. Because it is giving you, that we already mentioned, this insane stat, the skill damage plus 10%, and this is why I would consider it the endgame AoE set. This is why you can also already start, once you have the set, going for a plus 10 upgrade and even putting 7% cards in your piercing. So you can go full man mode on here. I just want to say something about the endgame. This is definitely for AoE PvE. If you're looking for going like a more PvP oriented build, I would not recommend going that high in the upgrade here and rather invest into my Nightard at around 105. But since we are a PvE guide, I just wanted to mention this so you don't waste too much cash in case you want to play PvE and PvP. So now let's take a look about the weapons. You will not need any specific weapon before level 60. That makes the knight quite generous, and you can basically go by whatever has the highest attack, you just use it and you're fine. But at level 60 you will try to go for a Guardian Axe, because it gives you a 10% HP and a bit more damage. And since we already talked about how high we want to keep our upgrades of the sets of the knight, this is where all your resources will go into. Because the knight is more valuable if you can tank huge amounts of mobs, and the scaling of the weapon attack is not that good on the AoE spells. And similar to the plate, you always want to have +1 element on your knight weapons to empower a skill that I will show you later. Now, for level 90, the level 90 weapons are not worth it because they are 101, which is the guide that we will cover in another topic. But for AoE, the historic big axe is actually pretty good. And it only looks like a minor upgrade if HP-wise, only 8% more, but the block rate is insane. I can promise you, as soon as you switch to this axe, you will feel the difference immediately by the amount of mobs you can tank. So now let's take a look at the jewelry. We already said that the green ones are coming from Clockworks and the others are just random drops. Let's go backwards here. So first, with our necklace, we're having either the Gore necklace or the Pep necklace, and they will give you HP and HP restoration, which is amazing as a tank. And then we have the first difference here. The plug earring will give defense, flat defense, and the Speedo will give you melee block. And we already talked about how powerful melee block is. So plug earring should only be a substitute until you can get your hands on a Speedo. And I would even say that like a plug earring plus, I don't know what plus, a high plus plug earring will probably even be worse than only +1 Speedo. So Speedos will be really huge. And now let's take a look at the rings, because rings on knight are pretty important. Because there's no Clockworks ring that is giving stamina, they're only damage statted. So the stam rings need to be upgraded by yourself to be of value. And we already mentioned that full stamina You can, if you're good and you're able to tank anything anyways, you can reduce your stamina amount by resetting and putting STR in. But there's also a trick. Instead of going stamina rings, you can go STR rings and maybe save out the cash on the reset and use just the rings to balance out your stats. This works pretty well. Now let's take a look about the skills. They are similar to the plate, since theirs are the mercenary skills. This means we have the empower weapon again, which is also the reason why you have +1 element on every of your weapons. And then you will follow up with the smite axe and the axe mastery. And now the biggest change, and I really love this change, is compared to Flyff PC, where you actually need to level to level 65 to start playing AoE Knight. We now have an option to start AoEing at level 35. This is with the skill special hit. It is amazing. It has one downside. It is not a let's say all around area effect. It is focused to dealing damage only in front of you. So you basically need to group all the mobs in front of you and face them to do damage with the skill. It takes a bit of practice, but once you get a hold of it, it doesn't matter. It's really easy to pick up. Now at level, you're using this skill to level until level 65, and then you're going with the power stomp. This is your main AoE skill, and this AoE skill has something that makes it unique and really powerful, and it is not just the damage, it is the ability to stun the enemies. So when you're playing an AoE Knight and you collected, let's say, you collected 50 mobs and you want to start AoEing, you will get a really hard beating as soon as you stand still and all the mobs are coming in. But the longer you will AoE, the more of your enemies will be stunned, and the less food and heal you will need over the course of the AoE. So this is really powerful and will result in lots of savings and food costs and whatsoever. Then you're a tank, so you're taking a high level beating all the time, and you have this skill Pain Reflection, which will reflect 75% of your damage to the attacker, which of course is amazing since you're getting your ass whipped all the time. Now let's take a look about what a level 90 skill tree should look like. And again, with this skill build, you have a bunch of skill points left that you can use wherever you like. For example, putting more CC in, get some additional whatever skills going. But this is just a mandatory thing that you need to use. And we already said that at level 35 you want to be able to AoE. So this top path here, going into the special hit AoE, is your main focus. You want to have enough skill points to go to have this maxed by level 35. And then after you have this maxed, you will go into this route and add the passive similar to the plate. And then at level 65, you want to have the power stomp right here maxed. And then you will just level up until you can max the Pain Reflection. And then you're basically already done with the AoE Knight and can just skill whatever you like and prefer. Now let's finish off the video with some tricks and playstyles that I prefer. And similar to the plate, if you're playing Knight and don't double click on mobs to attack them, go press O, search for the attack motion, put it on your taskbar, select the mob with your mouse and attack the button, and then once you have it attacked, you can immediately click on the ground, and this way you will only do one attack against the mob and not start fighting it all the time, and this will result in a much safer and cleaner way to collect all your AoE mobs together. And similar to this, as we already said, you will use lots of skills. And we already learned that if we put skills into the action slot, they will deal more damage because you can cast them faster basically. So they will not, like the skill will do the same amount of damage, but they will cast faster right after the other. And to ensure this, you need Activision going, and just for your convenience, Vital Drink X, not keeping your FP amount up all the time by hand, is really convenient. Me personally, I never play AoE Knight without those two power-ups running, because yeah, it's just a perfect personal preference. For me, it makes no fun if I play without those items, but it is totally doable without those items, so don't get me wrong on this. It's just personal preference. Yeah, thanks a lot for watching all the video. That's it for today. And if you like the content, I would really be happy if you subscribe, comment below the video, and leave me a like. Cheers.